Okay, hi guys, welcome to this review of the Campfire Audio Orbit, and this is going to be part review, and sort of about halfway through the video I also want to talk about something really important in regards to products like this and where I think that the industry and the manufacturers need to go, because this is an important turning point and products like this being released are important for a reason that you might not think of. First of all, I want to get the review out of the way because that's what most of you have clicked on the title for, and I'm not really one for clickbaiting. So, Campfire Audio, for those that don't know, one of the best audiophile earphone manufacturers, one of the most loved, one of my favorite in terms of the original Lyra. The Vega 2020 are still in my rotation. The Dorado 2020 is still in my rotation. Original Solaris and Solaris 2020. I need to get my hands on some of the newer stuff, but for now I have the Orbit. They have jumped in. This is the first true wireless earphone, so something that people have been asking for. And they've gone at it with a really different approach that I think is very important. And I hope that I know the reason why they've done this. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the review. And that is to do with omission of noise cancelling. So these don't have noise cancelling, and that's going to be important as we get deeper into the review. So on the box, it's standard Campfire Audio fare, it's recycled packaging, it's well presented, and it has one of the best unboxing experiences out of all the earphone manufacturers I've ever seen. The simplicity and small things still gives you a bit of a thrill. So on the outside you see Orbit, Campfire Audio, a little picture of the earphones. You get QR code information for the application on the side, and then a whole bunch of certification. You flip it over and there's a gold sticker on the bottom. You pop that open and this is where the magic happens. You get the big starburst effect there, and I should probably flip it this way. So you get that cool sort of starburst effect. You take that away, you have Campfire Audio in the middle. It's a really simple thing, but I like that they go to the attention to detail that they do. The colour of this box as well, I'm sure it's showing up on screen, but it's a beautiful shade of blue with the gold on top, the mountain, Campfire Audio, and the starry night sky, suggesting campfire under the starry night. And if you flip it, we have another nod to all the other Campfire Audio products where it says nicely done. And it is nicely done, apart from the colour. I'll talk about that in a second. In the box, earphones themselves. In here you get a mix of Comply foam tips and a few different exercises of the silicone rubber. Well, sorry, you get one extra silicone rubber in there, and then in this piece at the bottom you get another larger size set of tips. If I can open that up, so another set of tips in there, USB-C to USB-C charging cable, and the very nice little touch, the Campfire Audio pin badge that they include with all their headphones. And on recycled paper we get the instruction manual, but they're fairly simple to use earphone. Other than the capacitive touch controls, there's not really much that you're going to need to learn from that. They pair very easily and they have very stable pairing once they are paired. So I'll go and put that off to the side. We'll take our first look at the charging case. Charging case is really nice. It feels great in the hand. It's good, high quality plastic. It is a dubious color choice like this. This is not going to do it for me. Some people might like this, but to me it's hearing aid brown and yellow. I have friends, I used to date someone who had hearing aids, and yeah, this to me is Phonak yellow. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. But yeah, that's reminiscent to me of hearing aids, and it's okay, it's going to look like it's disappearing into your ears and stuff, but Campfire, we're a company with such cool design, such cool color choices, like even on the box. It's a strange one, especially it's going to be such a polarizing color for people that want the bling out of the box. You do get a little pop of bling when you open it up, but the earphones follow the color scheme of the carry case. On the bottom they have this USB-C charging point, and it has the charging indicator light, And these are actually true, they are actually wireless charging under the Qi standard or Key standard, something that the Sonys are not. In fact, if we get a size comparison here, the Campfire Audios are only a little bit bigger, a little bit slimmer as well, so these do fit in that 5th gene pocket very, very nicely. I just really like the case. It feels really nice in the hand, it feels nicer than the Sony, and it's far, far smaller than the monster that is the Final Audio ZE-8000. Pop the top and you get this little green styling on the inside. You get the battery indicator, mine is at full charge, and I'll go ahead and I will pop the earphones out and let you take a look at these. Now these are not the original tips on them, and that's going to be important when I talk about that in a second. These are the original tips, and they are one of the most god-awful worst tips I've ever used in my life. I can't believe that somebody passed these. And it's to do with, I don't think they're very good tips either way. I've used them with other earphones that are wired with a cable going over the top, so it's not just a weight issue, but in particular the issues with these tips are exacerbated by the design of the earphones, and I'll explain that right now. The earphones themselves have a very, very shallow design on the nozzle. It's very, very shallow, and this is quite a wide protrusion there, so that's only going to sit here in your tragus, anti-tragus area, and that means they're going to sit very shallow in your ear canal as so. By doing that, it's sort of a necessity of the sound design. The deeper you go, the punchier the bass would usually become, just because you're moving less volume of air, or you're closer to the eardrum with the impact and stuff like that. So I understand that this is going to be a choice for the nozzle. I would have preferred to have had a longer nozzle, given that there's so much weight on the outside of the earphone that is counterbalancing against the nozzle. There's a way that you can counterbalance that, and I'll talk about it in a second, but they've not done it with these ear tips, because these ear tips are extremely slippery, almost to the point of greasy feeling. They're like silky, silky smooth rubber, which is great for comfort, but not good for gripping the skin inside the ear, particularly on people that have oily ears. I have quite dry ears, so I don't have that problem, but I know people will struggle with this if they have oily, resinous ears. So the other issue is that the silicone compound is extremely soft, so it doesn't really conform and hold against the shape of your ear. In fact, it kind of bends and then breaks a point where air can go, and then it breaks the seal. So I really, really hate the ear tips, but luckily there's a solution. So if you're buying these earphones, this is an absolute must-do in my opinion. I'll put a link to these in the description below. Yes, it's an affiliate link, but trust me, if you haven't used ASLA's EdnaFit tips, and I'll link the exact ones here because they've got a few different types, I swear by them. I use them on every earphone that they'll fit on, and the reason I'll try and show you now is you can actually hear the grippiness of them. They're the stickiest things I've ever felt, but they also have a nice compound that's a little bit harder and holds the shape of your ear a lot better. If you're struggling to get a good seal with your earphones, then these are the ones that you want to go with, because yeah, these are fantastic. And once you put them in the Orbit themselves, it extends the bore length just a little bit, and it does enhance the bass just a touch. But I think the trade-off is worth it, because it really grips into your ears, and I have no more fit issues, and they stay put even when I'm running. In terms of running, IPX5 water resistant, as I say, wireless charging on the case. You get about 8 hours. I've been getting 8 hours off the charger on them. They have capacitive touch controls on the outside of them. You tap away, I think it's 1 to play, 1 to pause, 2 to adjust the volume, and 2 to adjust the track on one side, and 2 to adjust the volume on the other side, and a triple tap will take you to your digital assistant. So it's got all that. You also have the Campfire Audio Connect app, where you can connect the earphones, you can update the firmware, you can what else can you do? You have a custom EQ. It's a very basic application, because there's not a lot to do if you've not got ANC, etc. But the EQ is going to be important, and I'll talk about that in the sound section, which we'll get into now. Now, in terms of sound, I think they're absolutely fantastic sounding. They sound so good. They are bassy, slightly dark. They're very much in line with a sort of Campfire Audio, the sort of earlier earphones they brought out, like that Lyra, etc. It's got a mid-bass hump in it that is pleasing on a lot of modern genres, but it's not going to do so well on your classical and jazz, etc. Something like the Final Audio ZE8000 is going to sound better for that use. But in terms of listening to EDM on this, Infected Mushroom, 2 Feet, 2 Feet Quick Musical Doodles absolutely slams on the intro because it produces a solid amount, I would say an above par quantity of sub bass with really good texture. The mid bass is slightly bloated. It comes in with a lot of authority, and straight out the box that's the first thing you're going to notice on it. After a bit of time I got some perceived brain burn. I don't believe in driver burn, but I believe that my brain got used to it just because I was coming from the Cos Porta Pro, which I was testing before. It's still a bassy sounding headphone, but these, you feel the prominence of that mid bass, and it's not the most detailed of the mid bass. I think that's when you start going into higher level earphones, like in the $500, $600 range, where you're going to get that really good texture, detailed mid bass. This is just a punchy mid bass. The real dance where it happens on the Orbit is in the mids themselves. The mids are weirdly detailed and with stunning imaging and separation. I was able to place vocals, instrumentation all over the place. It felt like these were a very wide sound space to be placing music in, and because of that, with so much spacing, I felt like every instrument was free and there was not a lot of tripping over each other. So they're using a LCP diaphragm on this, which is liquid crystal polymer, so it's a little bit more rigid than your standard diaphragms. And with that, you're able to produce less distortion and, in theory, better micro detail performance. And definitely there's a lot of micro detail in there. Up towards the highs, it starts to roll off and becomes very smooth, very inoffensive. So it's not going to have a huge amount of energy on the top end and none of that artificial sound stage. The sound stage from this is just created from the overall presentation. It just sounds like a grand presentation on it. It sounds like a very big sounding earphone, sort of similar to a less technically perfect original Solaris in terms of the way it presents this weird open sound field. Apart from that, anything else I have to say? Not really. I rate them very highly, and I think it's an important earphone, and I'm going to talk about that just now. So something I want to talk about before I finish off this review and leave you with where I'm standing, because you might be thinking I'm switching off at the lack of ANC, the lack of noise cancelling. Now, in the audiophile hobby, you have to think about this. Campfire Audio has 9 to 10 earphones, I think, wired earphones. Final Audio, I've got a span of maybe 20 or so wired earphones. All these companies, Tin Hi-Fi, etc., have multiple earphones with multiple technologies, multiple housing designs, multiple price points. And we accept that as audiophiles because it allows us to pick and choose our things and have the right tool for the job. When you, like, nobody in the hobby really thinks about, you know, in my rotation right now, and you'll have to excuse the ambulance outside, in my rotation right now, I have the Kinera Skuld for my general listening. I have the Sony LinkBuds S for my general traveling. Then I have a set of Cos Porta Pros for just sitting about the house, sitting in the hammock. Then I have the original Solaris, the Vegas, if I want to get bassy on stuff. I have another set of Kinera. I have the Mangra Zens up, etc. I'm in a fortunate position, I get stuff, but most of the audiophiles there, they have earphones for different reasons and different prices and different price points. That needs to be something that these companies, Final, Campfire, Noble, 64 Audio, etc., need to do in the future, because naturally the gravitation is against wired headphones. Everybody's moving away from a wired headphone and they're picking up true wireless, just because once you start using it, it's bloody convenient. So I want to see diversity. I want this to be the debut Campfire Audio, and then I want them to come out with another. Same design I would like, different color scheme, maybe a different driver technology, maybe a hybrid, a little bit more expensive, like a little bit different tuning, etc. I would like to see true wireless earbuds priced starting from 100, 200, 500, 1000. Right in that range. Different driver technologies. Give me a planar magnetic, give me a tin hi-fi P1 with wireless capabilities, true wireless capabilities, but then give somebody a T4, nice lean sounding cheap earbud. And I think that's where it is. Forget the ANC. We're going to need to forget the ANC as hobbyists if we want to concentrate on the sound, because the fact of the matter is Sony, Bose and Apple control massive amounts of research and development in terms of the chips they're using, with Apple with their own chips, with their algorithms for noise cancelling, the same with Sony. These companies are streaks ahead and they have the specialized technology to implement it. Campfire Audio's bread and butter is sound design. It is hardware based. It's creating the housing with the inner designs, the dampening, the driver design with the combining a balanced armature, overlapping into a diaphragm, into an electrostatic. Examples like that is the specialists creating a sound is what these companies do. These guys from Final and Campfire Audio, etc., are not consumer product manufacturers. They are not chipset manufacturers. They are not big into software in any way. I imagine just to get an app for this is a pain in the ass. Sony and Apple are ahead in that, and they are going to pull further and further and further ahead. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. Any ANC that's going to be going into earphones like this is going to be third-party licensed, and that is going to lag behind the market leaders, just the way it is. So if Campfire has brought this out thinking it's going to be the only earphone, it's a good earphone, but I hope that this introduces maybe 5 or 6 different price points, different driver technologies, different tunings, just like they have with their wired earphones. And for me as an audiophile, I'll pick up a set of these used on Amazon for like $100. They often have them on the renewed by Amazon. $100, outstanding noise cancelling. I'll pick them up if I'm traveling, I'm getting on a flight or something like that, I'm taking public transport. But if I'm going to be sitting around my own house where there's no noise anyway, or if I'm going to be in the office, or if I'm just not too worried about sound around me, I want sound as a premium. I want sound quality as a premium, and these are fantastic, very good for the money. Not going to please everybody, obviously, with the predominant leaning towards being a bass focused earphone, but the mid-range is spectacular on it, and then a roll-off on the top end. So next one I would like to see them produce is something like more Andromeda focused. How cool would that be? How cool would it be if they had a Vega tuned, like this to me is an original Lyra tuning. So original Lyra tuning, Andromeda tuning, and an Aria tuning, like all on different price points, different things, so you can mix and match your collection. I've got another idea for something else that I'll talk about in the future, but for that you're going to need to subscribe. Gotcha. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching this one. Don't worry about subscribing. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.